going forward. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our Get Certified Engineering Surveying. My name is Jane Albiston. I am the Professional Development and Advocacy Manager for Survey and Spatial, and it's really great to be running this session today. I'm not sure how many people are going to come on live, but I can tell you that as soon as this is uploaded to YouTube, many people watch it. We've already had hundreds of views on the ones that we've done so far. So it's okay if just a couple of us are here live today. But I do want to thank Mike Cutfield for being here. He is one of our assessors, and it's great to have someone from our assessor team. I know we also have a couple of others joining us as well. So today, if you've had a look at what the session is about, it is, as you can see on the screen, our Get Certified Professional Engineering Surveyor Evidence and Requirements. And hopefully after today's session, you won't have any questions with regards to evidence and requirements. We're being very transparent. There's nothing to hide. You need to know what is required in the application. And so I'm going to give it to you here today. So just to recap, if I can get this to go. Our new certification framework, I'm sure you're familiar with it. If you're here, it is officially launched. It was officially launched in February 2023, but we're accepting applications from July. We don't have an exact date yet, but hopefully that will be coming soon. And this has been a 2-year certification development project with lots and lots of work by Mike Cutfield, myself, and others from the engineering surveying stream, and possibly some of you. And if you're listening when this is on YouTube, then I'm sure you might have been involved as well. And some of you will already know people who were involved in our pilot program that we successfully conducted in 2022. Since then, we have clarified and tweaked and made things a lot more user-friendly, and I think a lot simpler to understand, and hopefully application-wise a lot more straightforward to be able to submit the application. The purpose of our certification framework, I just wanted to give a little bit of a reminder here. I think some of you will know we are really aiming to provide a recognised professional pathway for all of our members at all levels, with clear eligibility criteria, a public register, mandatory CPD, and supported by a robust renewal process and a quality management system. And I'm thinking we've done a pretty good go at succeeding there. And you may be familiar with this little diagram here that describes the certification framework and the way it all works. But I just thought I'm putting it up on the screen in case someone's watching this and they haven't seen anything else. So I want to go through the requirements, and then I'm going to go through the actual evidence that we require section by section. So hopefully at the end of this hour, you will have seen everything, and hopefully there won't be too many questions after that. This screen that I've just got up here is generic. So in order to put your application through as part of the application and the data that we're collecting, we do require everyone to be an associate or a full member. You won't be allowed to apply if you're not an associate or a full member. You will be applying through your membership login, and that will recognise whether you are associate or full. So just making sure that if you're a new member or you're planning on membership, you need to go all the way through the membership process and have that confirmed and have a login with a member profile in order to be able to apply for the certification. And we do require a screenshot of your member profile showing that it is viewable by the public. In your member login, you have privacy settings, and there are 3 settings. At 1, it's set to no one can see that you're a member at all. 2, it's set to members can see you. And 3, it's set to everyone, including the public, can see you. You must have those privacy settings unticked in order to be able to apply for certification. Why? Because local authorities, employers, everyone needs to be able to see your member profile, because it will show that you are certified and that you have a current annual practicing certificate. Then you also need to make sure that that member profile is filled out and you have a photo there so that we can see that. There are actually people certified with the same name. It's really important that you have a photo uploaded there. And we also require an up-to-date CV. Now, if you haven't done a CV for many years, that's fine. I recommend going to your LinkedIn profile, which it's good to have up to date anyway. Update your LinkedIn profile, go into the settings on LinkedIn, export to a PDF, and it comes up with a really nice CV format, and that is perfectly fine to upload in your application. We also require photo ID, and that can be driver's license or passport, something similar. And I've just noticed the brackets there. Sorry about that. Didn't close the brackets. It's in the next section, I can see. And also your most recent ALCS, if you are a licensed cadastral surveyor, we would like to see a copy of that, because if you tick that you're a licensed cadastral surveyor, we want to see evidence of that. If you're not, doesn't matter. You don't need to be an LCS to apply to be a certified professional engineering surveyor, but I'm just putting everything in here so that you know. So here we go. The application is in 2 parts, Part A and Part B. Part A is looking at your general professional competence. Part B is looking at your technical competence, obviously in the area of engineering surveying for this application. Part A competencies look like this. You may have seen this before, but I'm just putting it up on the screen so that you can just have a quick refresh glance at all of the elements that come under professional conduct, communication skills, and good business practice. And those have requirements in terms of evidence and the application. And the same for Part B. These are the engineering surveying competencies. We have tweaked a couple of them. So I'll just point out that under reality capture and survey measurement, there is now a boundary location piece, which we'll go into in a bit. And under geodetic, there's slight tweaking. We have split the conversions between geodetic datums into horizontal datums and vertical datums, because we want evidence for both, and then the transformations between the geodetic coordinates. I think the last one had geographic. It wasn't supposed to be geographic, so we have made sure that we've corrected that now. So if we look at Part A, the assessment of general professional competence, it's important to know that every subsection of competencies is assessed in 4 different ways. So first of all, we are asking you to self-evaluate, tell us how you meet the competencies in your view as a professional. The second part is you need to give us evidence that supports what you've said about yourself. And the third part is third-party validation in the form of referees. And then the fourth part is the interactive assessment with an assessor panel. So parts 1, 2, and 3, we cover in the application form. So when you hit submit, you will already have completed parts 1, 2, and 3, and that's what we are covering today in terms of the evidence that is required. So Part A, just to refresh your memory, that this list is taken out of that little diagram that I showed you before. Under Part A, professional conduct, which is the first subsection of competencies, we have integrity and fidelity, objectivity and independence, competence, quality performance, professional behaviour, and CPD. And those things are really hard to prove. So over and above what we are requiring from you in terms of how you write to us in your own words, how you believe you meet these things in terms of your professional conduct and evidence that you might give us, there is also a very quite a strongly worded commitment to uphold these competencies in your own practice as a professional engineering surveyor, and they are part of the requirements for the annual practicing certificate. We also get you to read through and testify to the fact that you have read through and you're committed to upholding the survey and spatial membership policy, the code of conduct, so the ethics side, and also our CPD policy. And I think for engineering surveying, we're setting the CPD annually at 30 hours annually. So just to let you know. So the first part of what you are asked to do for every single section is this, and it's the same for every single section. So I haven't copied and pasted it onto a whole lot of slides. I'll just remind you, but I'm just putting it up here in the wording right now. So what this means when I say write a paragraph about yourself is literally this: outline in 400 to 600 words. And I've set it so you cannot write any fewer than 400 words. It won't let you submit unless you've written 400 words, and it won't let you submit if you try to write more than 600. So it's literally set there. You don't need to count it. There's a word counter written into the application. So outline in 400 to 600 words why you believe you meet the competencies for professional conduct. And I won't read them out again. They're all listed there. It's not a bullet point record of your work experience, so it's not a copy and paste from your CV. It's an opportunity for you to put forward your opinion of your professional competence, your values, and your practice. So a really nice blurb would be great in terms of that, in terms of writing about that. So you're required to write a paragraph like this for professional conduct, for communication skills, and for good business practice, all in this part A, general professional. So the evidence that we require is as follows. We want you to provide some real life examples that prove that you meet the competencies that were listed. And we haven't been too prescriptive about these. So the documentation can include emails, communication with clients, peers, superiors, others, references, if you like, that are over and above what you put forward as a third party, but you have to say where they've come from, client feedback, quality assurance documentation, all of those kind of things that show that you are conducting yourself professionally with all those great qualities that we saw listed. And you can upload that from your work, evidence from your work projects or your experience, but it has to be connected to your work. And we also ask for the benefit of our assessors that you label your evidence files really nicely with the competencies they refer to, and then zip up the files to reduce the size and enable you to upload what you want us to see. Having said that, I have set the file upload boxes in the application to an unlimited size, so I don't think there'll be too many problems with you trying to upload those things. But it's a really good idea to collate the emails and the communication that you've had with clients, and just think back recently to some of that. So maybe some good feedback from clients after you've completed a project or a job, those kind of things. Obviously, moving forward, people will be collecting these as they go. I know it's hard when we're starting out, but these are the kinds of things that we are looking for. Mike, do you want to just have a little comment on that? Because it is kind of challenging to know what to put forward.
Yeah, there's during the pilot we've had all sorts. So really, it's up to the individual, really, on how they want to submit evidence on that. Yeah, just good examples of interactions that have shown how they've met those competencies.
Yeah.
What I can really say.
Yeah. Just showing that you're a good all-round person, really,
Yeah.
with decent values, because those are all the great things that you'd want to see in someone that you are hiring, someone that you're working with. You want to be doing business with someone like that. So part A, the second section is communication skills. And we're basically looking at these two things: ability in English and communication with clients. So if English is your second language, obviously we're looking to see that that your English is to the standard that it needs to be in order to be able to practice as a certified professional engineering surveyor. If English is your first language, then you won't have much problem with the actual language, but we do want to see evidence of professional communication with clients. So how you communicate with clients. And obviously the main way of communicating is through email, but you may have some other documents that you can put forward about that. So again, we require you to write a paragraph about that as well. And then provide some real life examples that prove that you meet those competencies. So again, they can be emails, communication back and forth with clients, references, like good feedback. Think about feedback. That's probably the most important one. Things that you are putting to clients that are communicating the quality assurance processes that you use, those kind of things, so that we can see that you're really proficient and professional in the way that you communicate with clients, and you're really confident in that area. And then the third part of the general professional section, part A, is good business practice. And that covers the three things that you can see on screen here: conditions of engagement, conflict of interest, and fees. This, I have to say, has been quite challenging for some of the people that we've seen coming through, that we had coming through in the pilot. And it largely depended on the kind of company that you're working in and what kind of responsibilities you have been given. So it really does involve you having to have been exposed to or working with a project from the start. Obviously, that's where you set up your conditions of engagement. So if you haven't done that already, or you are not involved in that side all the time, and you're wanting to prepare for applying for this certification, the strong advice that I would have, and I know the assessors would have as well, is go to your boss, go to your manager and say, hey, run me through our normal conditions of engagement. Let me be part of the process, and get involved there, because we will be asking you about how you set up those conditions of engagement, because they really are the foundation for how you're going to deal with the client right the way through the job that you're doing. And we want to see that you're able to have professional communication across all parties, bring parties together, and that sort of leads into the second section on conflict of interest. You may never have had a conflict of interest, but if you haven't, it's not okay to just write, oh, I've never come across that yet in my profession, because you may never. But we do want to know, are you prepared? So if there was a conflict of interest on site, and there was a scenario where that came up, how would you deal with it? What processes and procedures have you got in place, both, I guess, personally as a professional yourself, but also perhaps the firm that you're working in or the business that you're running? What kind of processes have you got in place to ensure that doesn't happen? And also then, how do you deal with it if it was to come up? And then the fees, again, some people did not have exposure to fees or fee structure or setting of fees that was already set. We're not expecting you to give us private information that your company is not willing to part with, but you do need to show us and let us know that you're really proficient in terms of fee setting, knowing fee structures, knowing how they may change when there are revisions or variations to contracts, or things like that. So this is a section that really requires you to have been involved at the heart a project and how it's set up, and then how you're managing it going forward, or the piece of work. So we require you to write us a paragraph that 400 to 600 words, and then provide some real life examples of how you meet those. So you may provide us with quality assurance processes or procedures that you have as a company and that you follow, but you need to not only just go and get that documentation, you need to show us that you have personally worked through those and put those into practice. So this was a sticking point for a couple of candidates. Probably it would affect you if you haven't had many years experience. So probably if you're around the 5-year mark or less, you may struggle with this. But again, it depends on the size of the firm that you've been working in, and what you've been exposed to, and how your managers have involved you. Mike, do you want to comment on this before we move to the technical competencies? Because this is probably the trickiest of the three, right?
Yeah, it depends where you are in the company, I guess. Yeah, I know some companies are very private in this kind of thing, and don't like to get certain people at a certain level involved at all. So yeah, you're really going to have to discuss that with your bosses and your managers, and how you get this experience. But yeah, if you are an employer, then really think about giving those guys who need experience in this area even just a few isolated jobs for them to have a try on doing all these things. And yeah, conflict of interest is it's not always, it's more, yeah, like you said, Jane, you're not going to necessarily experience a conflict of interest, but you've got to know how to prevent it and how to declare it, and where you declare it. So yeah, some tips there.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Thanks, Mike. So after those things, then also to complete part A, we do ask that you provide third-party validation. And so this section requires, as I've written here, a written validation of your ability to meet and commitment to uphold the general professional competencies from 2 third parties. So we recommend that you get a reference from your employer or equivalent, and your choice of referee, such as the local authority, maybe local council, or others who are familiar with your work, or suitably qualified peers. It's not a good idea just to get 2 people from the place that you work in now. If you've put on an assessor hat and you think what you would want to be looking for, it's good to have 2 different references from 2 different places. At least one of those referees must be a member of Surveyor and Spatial New Zealand. If you have problems with that, you don't know anyone who you think can be a referee for you, then just contact us on our email address that I'll give you at the end of this presentation. We will help you. We can plug you in and easily set you up with people who will be able to provide you a reference once they get to know you. We do have a requirement regarding family members. Family members are not allowed to be your referees. And what you have to do is you have to upload the references that have been PDF'd and emailed to you when your referees filled in the Surveyor and Spatial Part A General Professional Reference Form online. So just to let you know, there will be a link online separate that will be uploaded. It will be on the website. So I'm not sure if it's just going to be available in the member section, the member resources section, or whether it's going to be available on the public section, but we'll let you know. That will be uploaded soon. And it is a link that takes you to an online form that is for your referee to fill in. So it's really easy for them to give you a reference. So it's online, they fill it in, and then they submit it. As soon as they click submit, a PDF copy is emailed to you. So make sure that your referee has your email address that you are going to use to apply for the certification. So if they've only got your Gmail and you're going to apply with a work reference, for example, or professional email, then make sure that they have got that. So a copy goes to you. You could potentially get references from 5 or 6 people if you wanted, and choose the best 2, because it doesn't matter how many times someone fills in that form, you are the one who gets to choose which 2 you upload into your application. So they'll be emailed to you, and all you need to do is choose the ones you want and upload them inside the application. So it's quite easy, hopefully clear. So now we're going to move to part B, which is the assessment of technical competence, obviously for engineering surveying. And again, each one of these subsections of competencies are assessed in 4 different ways. So the same as we said before, you're going to write a paragraph, 400 to 600 words with your own self-evaluation. You're going to upload evidence to support that self-evaluation. You're going to give us some third-party validation in the form of the references. And then part 4, we're going to have a chat to you. And parts 1, 2, and 3 make up what you put into the application that you submit. Now, the good news about this is that the evidence that we require is very, very prescriptive. So it's very easy, isn't easy to understand, not necessarily easy to provide. And I'm just going to walk you through that right now, and it will be great. I think you'll come away from this knowing exactly what you're required to give us. The first part, if you remember in your mind back to the diagram that we had a look at the start, the first subsection under our engineering surveying competencies is reality capture / survey measurement, and there are 4 mini topics underneath that section. Boundary location, which is cadastral surveying ability, topographic surveying, as-built surveying, and monitoring surveying. So we require you to write your self-evaluation that we've been over before on that whole section, explaining to us how you believe you meet the competencies and requirements for those mini sections, that as in the whole thing, which includes the boundary location, the topo, as-built, monitoring, surveying, like we went over before. And then this is exactly what we require for the evidence for each of those 4 mini sections. So for boundary location, we are asking you to upload a plan showing calculated cadastral boundaries for a site, reproduced from existing cadastral survey data, supported by calcs and checks. Note that you are required to reference the documents, and if you want to zip them up, that's fine. But I've put that there, but I actually don't think you'll need to zip, because as I said before, I've set the file upload boxes to an unlimited size, so you should be fine. But Mike, I would like to ask you if you can comment on this and clarify, because this is a section that we've thought long and hard about the exact wording. So I think it's really important to explain that obviously this is not crossing over with LCS. We're not talking about defining a boundary. We're talking about locating an existing boundary, right? And we're very strict on knowing when to bring in an LCS to redefine or reestablish a boundary, or define one if there hasn't been a boundary defined. So I'd like to just hand to you, Mike, for a comment on that now, please. That's okay?
Yeah, so we're very careful to keep our wording broad on this. We do have a standard, but we're not trying to define the standard of what we're looking for here. We want to see that what you are doing is within your ability, and like I say, the standard we're looking for is set, and if you don't meet that standard, then you won't pass this section. But at the same time, if you're trying to do something overly complex and it appears that you can't meet that that boundary requirement, then yeah, again, you won't pass. So yeah, it's hard to really give too much detail on this. It is a sensitive one because, like Jane says, we don't want to be taking anything away from the license. So yeah, you won't get too much more out of us from that. But if you know how to calc a boundary, then you should know what information to include, and we expect to see it.
Brilliant. Thank you. The next thing is the topo. So we just are asking that you upload one comprehensive topographic plan that includes council asset records, and that's basically about it. There's not really much more to say on that, is there, Mike?
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
A topo is a topo. Well, I mean, is there, if somebody's thinking, what do you mean by a comprehensive topo? I mean, there is a limit to if it wasn't a comprehensive topo. Is there a comment on that, Mike?
Well, as part of the licensing, there is a defined size. I think it's something like 30 hectares or section of road a certain length or something like that, but we're not doing that. We want to see a topo that has lots of different topo features in it, right? We don't want to see obviously a topo of a half section with nothing on it. We want to see what should normally be picked up in an urban or rural environment. Ideally, both. If you've got them there, the more the better, right? If you're struggling, then yeah, maybe you need to try and find a big topo job to do.
Brilliant. That's great. So now we're moving to our as-built part, and we are actually asking for 3 as-builts. This is the first one. So the first one we want you to give us is an as-built survey for drainage. So just upload an as-built survey for drainage that you have done and submit it. And that's that one. And then the second as-built we're asking for is a roading showing utilities as-built survey. And that's it. Upload that and give it to us. And the third one is an as-built survey structural. So Mike, is there anything you'd like to say around the as-built evidence, or is it pretty self-explanatory?
Yeah, those ones are pretty self-explanatory, I'd say. Either you got them or you don't.
That's right. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh, haven't done one for drainage for a while, get to it, do one and put it in your application. We want to see that you're all over that. Then monitoring surveying, we want you to upload one monitoring survey, including the results and the reporting. And that's it. And then we go to set out. Was there anything you wanted to say about the monitoring, Mike, or is that also self-explanatory?
Again, it just needs to be of a reasonable size, not just of 1 or 2 points that were measured 1 or 2 times. To be a series of points which maybe show that something is moving or is not moving. Typically, ideally over a year, at maybe a month's frequency at least, monthly frequency, something along those kind of lines, just to give you a guide.
Sounds good. So now we're going to the second section in part B, which is set out. And set out, we have obviously what you can see on the screen there, set out surveying and set out reporting. So again, we are requiring the nice little paragraph where you can tell us all about your set out experience and why you think you meet the requirements. And then we are asking for some evidence. So we are wanting you to upload a set out plan and a stakeout report for the set out undertaken for drainage. That's the first one. And the second one we are wanting you to do is a set-out plan and a stakeout report for the set-out undertaken for roading, showing utilities. And then the third one is for structural. And that's what we require for the set-out plan and stakeout report. Mike, would you like to say something about that evidence that we're asking for?
So yeah, when you're staking out, it's hard to show evidence that you've staked something on site, but there should always be a stakeout plan. Maybe not always, but ideally there should be a stakeout plan that you prepare for the client. So any of that goes with it, if you can send that through, that would be great. And even photos of what you staked out on site. Photos are always good evidence, so chuck those in as well.
Oh, that's good. I might even add that in. Feel free to send photos, because again, there is no limit to the file size that you can upload. So it will handle photos fine. And if you want to give photos, that's great. Because all of these things we can talk about with you when we do the interactive assessment. And I'll get on to that after we've gone through this. So the third subsection under Part B, technical competencies, is survey data management. And here we are looking at production and management of digital files. And again, you know, the self-evaluation, the paragraph, and then the hardcore evidence. So what is the hardcore evidence? It is as follows. We are asking if you can please upload one 3D client deliverable CAD file for set out. And then we are also asking if you can upload a 3D client deliverable CAD file for as-built. So that's what we are requiring in terms of the production of digital file evidence. Mike, do you want to comment on those CAD files?
So for set out, you have to produce a Calca model generally for setting out. So yeah, seeing how you're doing checks and seeing how you're layering things, and likewise for the as-built should be of a higher standard, because this is what the client should be seeing, and that's the kind of thing we're looking for. Yeah, so typically for as-built, it might be going into a GIS system for a council, or it could be just a DWG file, CAD file for an engineer or something like that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mike. And then if we move on to the management of digital files, you might be thinking, oh, how on earth do we provide evidence for that? Well, this is what we've asked for. We are asking, as an example, I think it's a good guide, I think, to take screenshots and write an explanation of the traceable management system that you use that details revisions and shows how they are updated for use by the survey team. So you may like to do this as a Word document and then export it to a PDF and then upload the PDF. That's just one way that we recommend, could be a good way to do that. So Mike, do you want to just comment on that so that those who are listening in and those who listen in the future have a really clear idea of what we're attempting to articulate here?
So a good example in a big firm might be the use of something like 12D Synergy. So Synergy is a good file management system. It might be something like SharePoint, or it could be even just as simple as how you manage your job folders and however you manage them in your firm. So you're looking for something nice and tidy and well arranged.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then we come to the favorite section of all, geodetic. It's the final piece in the 4 subsections under technical competency. And we are looking at the following subsections: establishment of new control networks least squares, establishment of new control networks traverse, conversion between horizontal datums, conversion between vertical datums, and transformations of geodetic coordinates. Again, as I have mentioned all the way through, the self-evaluation paragraph telling us about yourself with regards to your competency under geodetic and why you believe you meet the competencies. And then here is the hardcore evidence that we want to see from you. So we are asking if you can upload a least squares adjustment, including calc sheets and reporting that you have done. And so that's that. There's nothing really to say about that, is there, Mike?
No, I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
It is what it is. You've either done one or you haven't. And if you're like a few people from last year who said, oh, least squares, that's going to take me back, then maybe you want to refresh and go and do an adjustment and then pop it in the application. Some people don't use it very often, but we need it as part of the competencies that we're assessing. So the other one is to upload a Travis sheet and a Travis report. And anything to say about that, Mike?
Yeah, in terms of submission, not really, but you want to know that you have an understanding of how a Travis works, not just that it's a button on 12D.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to hear, I don't really know. I just push the button and it all does its thing. So what is its thing? Why is it, or how is it doing it, and what are the reasons for it? Yeah, exactly. A deeper understanding. And a really good guide too, if you're listening in, is to go back to the competency doc and make sure you've been through the foundational knowledge and understanding section, because before every part of these actual competencies, there is quite a list of foundational knowledge and understanding that we expect you to have before you apply. And you also need to be very prepared to answer questions and to talk through parts of those foundational knowledge and understanding pieces if the assessment team requires that of you, or they want to question you on those. So I would strongly advise that you go over and familiarize yourself with those, and anything that you're not sure of or you're a bit rusty on, now will be the time to sort of get refamiliarized on those sections. So if we move to the conversion between horizontal datums, we want an example of a conversion between horizontal datums that you have done. And then for the example, we want you to include why you did the conversion. Sorry, I need to take out the word each there. That's my mistake. But we want to know why you did it and how you did it. Mike, do you want to comment on that conversion between horizontal datums?
Yeah, not really.
Okay.
It's up to the individual here on how they show their example here.
Yep, perfect, good. And then the second conversion that we want to see is an example of a conversion between vertical datums that you have done. You have to have done it yourself. So we do want to know exactly, like we want to know for the horizontal, why you did the conversion and how you did the conversion. And as long as you can show us why you did it and how you did it, and it's very clear, and then we can talk to you about it during the interactive assessment, you'll be fine. So moving on to the transformations of geodetic coordinates, we also want an example of a transformation between geodetic coordinates that you've done. So we also want to know why you did the transformation, and again, how you did it. And if you can write that down, you can see that I'm recommending there that you might like to write that as a Word document. If you want to put photos or screenshots or whatever else you want to put in there, then that's fine. Of other things, and then just submit it as a PDF, upload it as a PDF. But it needs to be something that you're really familiar with, so you've done it, and if you did it a while ago and you're providing it, then just familiarize yourself with it before the interactive assessment and be prepared to talk us through it so that we can see you've got a really clear understanding. So the third part, oh, sorry, Mike, was there anything that you wanted to say as a wrap up for geodetic? Any piece of advice that you can give without giving anything away?
Yeah, well, yeah, you just got to be clear in your head the difference between datums and coordinates, and that'll help you. I mean, it's kind of a hint there that you've got a horizontal datum section and then a conversion between coordinates section there. So yeah, it should help me fill it out anyway.
And the LINS website may be your friend, right?
Absolutely.
as well as other sources. So there are some really good sources. And something that I will be getting us to do is to put some of those sources where you may want to upskill or refresh yourself up on the website, and probably as part of our candidate guide that we're putting together and we're going to give you. And later in the year, we will also be running some really good CPD sessions for Get Certified. So we will go over these as well. So the references that we're requiring you to get for the technical competence piece, Part B, engineering surveying, is as follows. We want a written validation of your ability to meet and commitment to maintain the technical competencies engineering surveying from 3 third parties. So you'll remember the first one, we need 2 referees. This one, we need 3. Now, just to stop there and say, if you're thinking, does that mean I need 5? Well, no. I mean, you could technically get 2 people to give you 2 referees. Ideally, I think it's great if you can have 5 people. But just to answer that question, if you're thinking in your head how many people you want to go for references, it is possible to do that. But we want you to see if you can get a reference from your employer or equivalent, your business partner if you're running your own business, and then your choice of referees, as we said before, like local authorities, council personnel, suitably qualified peers. 1 referee must be a member of Surveyor and Spatial New Zealand. You're not allowed to get references from family members. And again, it's the same process. So we will have a separate reference form for technical competence. It's labelled, literally as you can see it there, s+snz Part B Engineering Surveying Reference Form. And so there'll be a link, and that's the name of it. And that's the link that you send to your referees, and they fill that in. And as soon as they hit that submit button, then a copy of that reference is sent to you. You can gather as many of these as you want and choose 3 that you want to put in to your application. If you want to know what it looks like, then you can also fill it in yourself and get it emailed to you, and you can see what it looks like. But they're required to sign it, and obviously it has to be professional and it has to be genuine. We can check those people if we need to. So that's hopefully clear on the references, and then it just gets uploaded like the evidence. So the final part, and part 4, so just to recap, part 1 is your self-evaluation, and part 2 is the evidence that you upload, as we've just covered, to validate or to support what you've said about yourself, claimed about yourself. Part 3 is the referees that you submit, and you submit all 3 of those sections in an online assessment. And then once we receive that, what happens is that you get an email, and it will tell you, thank you, we have accepted your application for assessment. If you have somehow submitted it and there is something missing and it should be there, then we'll go back to you and say, oops, looks like you've missed out this or this. I don't think that you can miss things out, because we've literally got the form set so that if it's required, you can't submit it without putting those things in. But that is just there in case, so we can come back to you. But once it's been accepted for assessment, then you'll get an email saying it has. We assign 3 assessors to your application. 2 of those assessors will literally go through your entire application and will formally assess it. They have a marking sheet that they use to do that. So it's the same. Every assessor follows the same process. And then when it gets to part 4, the interactive assessment, that's where the third assessor jumps on. And so you meet with a panel of 3 assessors, 2 who have been all over your application and have formally assessed that part, and the third who's just jumping in for this interactive assessment online. So it is, as I've put there, a professional conversation where the assessors ask you to discuss your application and to address any gaps that the assessors may have found. The format is of a roundtable discussion rather than a traditional formal interview, and you'll receive separate notification of the day and time for your interactive assessment once we have assigned the assessors to that. So it's usually around 90 minutes. We cut it off at an hour and a half, and that's how long it is. I don't think it's definitely no longer than that. I can't remember whether we're going to limit it to an hour, so I won't say that here, but it is a timed thing. And we go formally through every part of your application, and all the assessors have a chance to discuss with you what you've put forward. It's online, and the assessors are from all over New Zealand. As far as possible, we attempt to put an assessor on your panel who comes from your local region. That's so that they can understand the geography, they know the requirements from the local and regional councils in your area, and they're really familiar, probably even familiar with the projects that you have been working on maybe. And I think that's really nice. So that's our aim. We are enlarging our assessor team as we speak. So if you think that you may be qualified to be an assessor, then I want to hear from you, because we are recruiting assessors. Assessors have to have at least 10 years experience as an engineering surveyor, and then we'll have a chat from there. And also assessors have to be certified themselves. So we put you through the assessment process. But the interactive assessment is really probably the most important part, or one of the most important parts, and I'll let Mike comment on this. This is where we really see if you know your stuff. If you are really, really nervous in front of other people, I would totally recommend practicing for that. We are going to put on a couple of CPD sessions that help people prepare for this interactive assessment, but we're not putting them on this month. We're getting ready for launching in July. But if you do struggle in this area, I would really encourage you to get confident speaking into a screen, jumping onto Teams, or presenting. See if you can lead some staff meetings or meetings online, and just get really confident at talking to people online as if you were in person, because you want to be able to articulate yourself well. The great thing about the fact that this is all online is that we can actually bring up pieces of your evidence onto the screen, and we can talk through that. So all of those pieces of evidence that we've just gone through, we can bring them up on the screen and say, hey, so can you talk us through this? Or what was your thinking here? Or this looks really fascinating. Can you walk us through how you did that? Or what was involved in this? So those are the kind of things that we can do with it all being online. Most of the interactive assessments are around the working day. So we appreciate the fact that a lot of people are on site, so you'll never get one in the morning. They're usually towards the end of the day, where it's much easier for people who are on site a lot to have come in and hopefully jump on that. So we try to work around real life as well. Mike, would you like to comment about that interactive assessment? Because we can't really stress the importance of it enough, can we? But are there any pointers that you would like to give?
Yeah, we want to try and treat it like the LCS process does. Like like you're talking to a client, right? And like you say, Jane, if you are a bit nervous, then we don't really want to see that. You want to see some confidence and surety in what you're saying. We are going to be picking you apart, so you have every right to be nervous, but at the same time, to help with the confidence, we're just people as well as assessors, and if you can start to have some counter arguments to us, we love that. Good discussion. And if we can bring that to the table, then I'm sure you'll be fine.
It's really almost like a CPD for everybody, because we always learn something new, and very often, we'll jump off an interactive assessment, and the assessor panel always has a little discussion afterwards. Obviously, we need to. But often the comments are that, wow, that project was so fascinating. I've never seen, or I really learned something today. So it's a learning for everyone. And I think if you can think about it like that, we're all down to earth professionals, and this is an opportunity. You are professional, you are competent, or you believe you are. That's the reason you're putting forward the application. You're going to be a certified professional engineering surveyor. So just show us what you've got and feel very confident, standing your ground for the reasons why you've done something the way you've done them, because of XYZ conditions or whatever it was, and go for it. Then we'll be holding some preparation sessions for these as well, to help you. And once we've enlarged the assessor team, once we've got lots of assessors, then we will be able to involve assessors more in terms of presenting preparation. But right now we're not wanting to introduce you to too many assessors, because we're in the middle of enlarging the team. So that's all we'll say at this stage. But it can be enjoyable. We have had many candidates say, wow, this is nothing like I was expecting. I actually really enjoyed this. So we really go out of our way to make this relaxed and comfortable, but that doesn't mean that we're easy, right? That's a tough process to get through, but if you're competent, you'll get through. That's all I'm saying. And I think everyone would agree. So just want to finish off by restating a couple of things. The certificate of competence is formal recognition by Surveyor and Spatial New Zealand of those who have been assessed against a defined set of professional and technical competencies that we've been through today, which meet standards and technical sign-off criteria required by private and public asset owners, territorial and local authorities, and other such entities. And I would encourage you to go to the Surveyor and Spatial New Zealand website. When you go to the front page, on the left-hand side, there is a box that says certification. Click on it. It takes you to a main page that explains the certification framework. And then there are two links. One to Certified Professional Engineering Surveyor, the other to Certified Professional Land Development Engineer. Click on the one for Engineering Surveyor, and then you can actually download our document that will give you the competencies. It will also give you the purpose statement and the competence standard. And if you read the competence standard, you will see the 4 areas that we are setting the certification at a standard that people who are certified professional engineering surveyors will be able to sign off on. And we are gradually working through the local authorities and regional councils to spread the word of our new certification, because we really are making history, standing in the gap and self-regulating in the absence of any legislation over engineering surveyors in New Zealand. So this is pretty exciting. So I do encourage you to go and download that document. This is a milestone achievement, and I know that everyone who watches this is either an engineering surveyor themselves, or they have a vested interest in this certification or in employing or hiring certified professional engineering surveyors. So the launch of this and the first certification for professional engineering surveyors, and that's what we're focusing on today, it really is a milestone achievement, and it sets a new benchmark, particularly what we're talking about today for engineering surveyors practicing, and paves the way for future sets of competencies also to be provided for under the new national certification framework. So thank you for being part of it. Thank you for listening in live or to the recording, as I know it will be uploaded, and we look forward to seeing your applications come in, or the applications of your staff, or whatever part you're going to play. Maybe you're going to apply to join our assessor team. We have a dedicated email that's set up for certification. It's on the screen here, certification@surveyspatialnz.org, and we would absolutely love to hear from you. So on behalf of the assessor team and myself, the engineering surveying assessor team, I'd really like to thank you for attending today, and also for listening in the future. If you're listening to the recording, we look forward to hearing from you, and we also look forward to you being involved. If you are jumping on and you're new to Survey and Spatial, and you're new to really getting involved in membership, we also would love you to join the engineering surveying stream. So check and see if you belong to the engineering surveying stream. If you don't, you can email and ask to be added to the engineering surveying stream. That's the stream that is overseeing this certification in terms of the technical competency wise, and we would love you to be part of that. It's led by Sam Williams and Mike Cutfield, so a very warm thank you to Mike for joining us today from the assessor panel, and he's worked long and hard on this project, and we'd love you to be part of that stream. If you are a technician surveyor, we would also love you to join the technicians division. We have a lot of engineering surveyors who are joining that division, and we're really building a community under both of the division and the engineering surveying stream. So just wanted to point that out. So it's 5:01. I'm going to finish here. If you've got questions, please email them through. I'm more than happy to give you a call directly if it's something that I can help with. If it's something I can't help with, then we'll definitely get your query answered. So watch this space. We are uploading a lot of things to the website, so have a look for that. When you get an email from Survey and Spatial New Zealand, make sure that it doesn't go to your spam box. Have a look and see if it's a certification update, because we're going to be putting out a lot of assets that you can use during the next couple of months. So look forward to seeing you and hearing from you, and thanks for attending today.